Aloha, everyone. You have just tapped into Leveraging Up your voice, your story, your impact. And today I have the amazing Kit Brown. And Kit, I'm going to have you actually come on out and help me with your last name and just tell us what business you're a part of.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me on, Mamie. My name is Kit Brown-Hoekstra, and I am principal of Comgenesis LLC, which is a consulting company that helps global companies design and build content systems so that they can better serve their customers wherever they live and work in whatever language they need.
Wow, content system in whatever language they need. Listen up, listeners, because I think this is going to be an interesting topic that we're going to be talking about today. So, Kit, do me a favor. Tell me, what inspired you to get started in the business that you are in today? And what problems are you solving out there in the world?
Well, what inspired me was I sort of fell into it. I wanted to be a veterinarian and didn't get into vet school. And one of my professors said, "Hey, you're a pretty good writer. Why don't you talk to my buddy in the journalism department? He's starting a graduate program in tech comm." I'm like, "Great, what's tech comm?" And that was in the early 90s. And then I found that I could use my biology degree helping people understand how to use their medical devices and things like that. And then over time, started working more globally with global teams and became a consultant in 2003, basically helping companies do what they do. And I've recently gotten into appreciative inquiry and conscious leadership. So I've added those workshops to my offerings as well. So I do workshops, I speak at conferences, in addition to doing the day-to-day consulting. And I'm passionate about it because communication is foundational to everything.
Mm-hmm.
Without technical writers and communicators, every product, process, and service would fail on this planet and off of
Really?
it. So if you saw the movie The Martian, you noticed that he was using the documentation to figure out how to survive in that environment. So my tagline of my business is communication for a connected world, because I truly believe that it's foundational to everything, and miscommunication is the cause of so many of the problems that we have in the world today. So
You're so right, Kit. I worked with software for over 17 years. And we couldn't do without our technical writers because they were the key to making sure that what we built got used the way we built it and enhanced the way the customers actually wanted it done. But you mentioned a word that I hadn't heard before, and that is appreciative inquiry. What is that?
appreciative inquiry was developed by David Cooperrider from Case Western Reserve University in the early 80s, and it has about 40 years of play in the world. But essentially, it is a strengths-based change management methodology. And
Ah,
organizations as big as Hunter Douglas, Microsoft, the governments have used this to help their teams move from where they are to where they want to be. So it's the best of what was, what is, and what could be.
I
And
like
it's
that.
very strengths based. And so it's a matter of asking better questions, more generative questions, instead of focusing on the problem. Like in software, you might have a problem where you have technical support is like, "Oh, I'm getting all these calls about this topic, and this is a huge problem." Instead of asking that, say, changing the question to, how can we create a more unified, exceptional customer experience?
Mm.
Which one would you rather work on? Solving the problem of too many tech support calls, or creating a unified, more unified customer experience. I'd rather work on that because that sounds
Absolutely.
right.
Absolutely. Wow. And you said that the company that you work with also is that Comgenesis, right?
Comgenesis.
Comgenesis. Uh, is translation into other languages part of what you do?
I don't actually do the translation. I set up the systems to allow the translation to happen. So I work with language service providers, LSPs, in the jargon of the industry. Um, so when you want to sell something globally, you have to take the content or the product that it was created in for say the US culture, and you have to translate it, not only translate it into another language, but you also have to localize for regulations, cultural expectations, that kind of thing. And so there's this, when you're managing content, I don't want to dive too deep into the details, but when you're managing the content so that you can deliver it, part of that, a huge part of that is making sure that the right language gets to the right customer at the right time, and all of the moving pieces work together no matter where you are selling your product. And so it's the systems behind the scenes basically, and helping client companies who may not understand localization to work with the localization provider.
Wow. You know, in all the years that you've been working in this field, can you remember one success story that just took everything over the edge? And what did you do and how did it make a difference?
So this is an interesting thing because I mean, these questions are hard, right? When you're thinking back through 30 years. But recently it wasn't too long ago, I was doing a discovery workshop with a client in the semiconductor industry. I prefer working in life sciences and biotech, but this particular client was in semiconductors, and they were growing really rapidly, but their tech docs team and their marketing team were not talking to each other. In fact, they hated each other because for management toxicity that was going on.
Wow.
And they had to work together to transfer their content into a new content management system. And so when I set up the discovery workshop, I was like, well, if we can just get them talking to each other, that'll be a success, right?
Absolutely.
Um, the workshop was set up to go through the entire appreciative inquiry process and get them to a paper prototype of what they needed to do to transfer from one system to another. But I tried to set the expectations low because I didn't have any idea how this was going to go. Um, when people are saying they hate each other and they don't want to talk to.
Wow.
So the first thing I did was a connection exercise where I just threw them into a room together thoughtfully, and intentionally mixed the teams up and just asked them human questions. Why is it important for you to be here? And what is one thing that you've learned recently? Just to get them talking to each other, and
Mhm.
led them through this workshop. And to
Nice.
my surprise, at the end of the first half, I did a survey, and they said, wow, I had no idea how close together we were on our ideas, these two teams, because we were told that they wanted something totally different. And kept
Mm.
them on the same team throughout because I wanted to build trust. And so through all those exercises, by the end of the workshop, they had not only developed a better respect for each other and care for each other, but they had also developed an 80% prototype
Wow.
for the migration, and which blew us all away. And so um that was really cool to see the power of appreciative inquiry and the power of conscious leadership and I didn't tell them that I was doing appreciative inquiry, and I didn't tell them I was doing conscious leadership. I just kind of walked them through the process, and it was amazing. It was really kind of gave me chills actually to watch
Oh,
happen. So
now, it sounds like that is the part of your business that just uh, gets you thriving on what you do. Are there any other aspects of what you do that really what I call ignite your fire?
well, I'm a helper. I like to make my whole thing is how can I make the world a better place?
Mhm.
And with what I do, it it helps companies better serve their customers, which then, in the biotech and medical device, it saves lives. It prevents people from getting hurt by the product or, when I worked for a pacemaker company, making sure that the doctor knew how to install the pacemaker correctly and program it so that it was optimal for the patient. That made a real difference in people's lives because once they got a pacemaker, they could resume normal activity.
Mm,
They might have been virtually bedridden before.
mm.
So being able to see that and also I just love people, and so being able to work with people all over the world and learn about new cultures and learn about new languages is just fun for me. I like I just I like teaching, I like training, I like just working with people who are awesome and love what they do and want to make a positive difference in the world.
Well, it sounds like you are making that difference in people's lives, especially for the clients that you're working with.
Thank
And
you.
when someone lights up like you do, when you were just talking about what you have been able to do with your clients, you know, when we take a look at something like that, can you give some tips to our listeners in regards to, how do you make those transitions so smooth so that they can take away some of the things that you practice every day, like integrity and connection?
Uh, the transitions of the content, or I mean, I'm not sure I understand the question. Sorry.
Just so tips on so I gather that your expertise has been the ability to connect people and then connect people in a sense where they get to connect and then work together for the greater good. And
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
if you take a look at that, I'm going to say this, Ken, I'm going to go on a limb and say, not everyone has that skill set.
Oh,
Not everyone has that skill set.
I
And
think
it's
we're seeing that. Right. I think, um, I think number one, be real with people,
love it. Mhm.
right? Be focused on the higher. So one of the things that I love about the people I work with is that they're focused on the vision of the overall project,
Mm,
and they're not stuck in petty disagreements and sometimes there's creative tension on a team, right?
mm,
If you have a disagreement on which way to go on something, but it's always about how do we make this product or this service or this content the best that we can be.
mm.
And so having an attitude of excellence in everything that you do, having a taking care of the people first, having a people first approach in terms
Mhm.
of if you take care of your people, they will take care of your product.
I love it.
And that was something that Richard Branson, I think,
Mm.
says a lot is take care of your people, they'll take care of your, and Dan Price also, some famous, much richer entrepreneurs than me. Um, and I think that just being a good human, you know, doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it, having integrity, admitting when you're wrong, making sure that you are resource. So this is a huge piece of conscious leadership. Viktor Frankl, who was in the Auschwitz, survived the Auschwitz during the World War II, came out of that with the idea that no matter what your circumstance, you can't control your circumstances, but you can control your response to your circumstances.
Yes, yes.
And so the big thing is learning to pause, notice, and choose, so that, and resourcing yourself as a human and as a leader, so that you're not giving your trauma out to other people. You're not spreading the trauma, you're spreading the love, right? So by learning to pause, notice, and choose through mindfulness meditation, through self-care, like eating well, eating right, and sleeping enough, and going for walks, and, you know, those kinds of things, and that's especially important right now, that gives you more resources to handle the crises that come up and the stress that comes up. Am I perfect at it? No. The Dalai Lama is not even perfect at it. So, so it's, and building that into a daily practice is going to help you more than anything else.
Well, you gave us some golden nuggets here, and listeners, I hope you got it. You know, she said, be real, have an attitude of excellence, and people first. People first. Kit, you know, for me, those three things that you started with, priceless for human existence. Yes, it helps us take a look at a person from the perspective of you matter. So I love that approach. And then I made a note: pause, notice, and then choose.
Yeah.
Pause, notice, and choose. Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah. Choose your response. Don't react. Just
I
choose.
love it.
And it takes practice to do that. And I'm, you know, like I said, I'm not perfect at it. Nobody is. But
No.
but also it helps you recognize when you are being reactive, and maybe take yourself, you know, send yourself to your room when you need to.
You're right. I think that pause is so important, Kit, because that pause allows us to really take a look at, okay, what's going on here? What's the next step? Instead of reacting, we are now able to, like you said, choose what that next step is.
Yeah,
Big,
and
big.
this works even when you're under stress. You can move yourself from reactivity to creativity, which is where we want to live, right?
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. Conscious leadership, guys. That's what this is all about. I not only hear you, Kit, I'm feeling where you are at, and the belief at how important it is, and the importance of what you do, and how you bring people together so that they can resolve, they can pause, they can then take notice, and then choose those next steps together.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
pretty amazing, pretty amazing. If from your personal perspective, doesn't have to be from the business perspective, if you could give our listeners one last thing that you'd like them to remember you by, what would that be?
Be kind.
Be kind.
Be kind to everyone. You don't know what's happening behind the scenes when somebody's responding to you in a way that you don't like. Just still be kind. Kindness is a choice.
Yes.
Right? You can choose to be kind even when someone's not being kind to you.
I love it. You know, I really love the fact that we went from communication, something in the biofield, and then you're talking about being very conscious of people and how we treat them. What an amazing combination there. Kit, if our listeners wanted to get a hold of you, how could they contact you?
Um, They can contact me by email or phone, kit.brown@comgenesis.com, and I can send you the information. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm the only Kit Brown-Hoekstra, I think, on LinkedIn. So
Yes, you are. I found you.
um so yeah. So I would love to connect with anyone, and yeah.
I love it. I love it. All right, listeners. What an amazing lesson to learn today. Be you and choose. Choose to take that pause, notice, and then choose the way that makes it a win-win-win for everyone, because that's what I got out of this conversation with you, Kit. And I really do appreciate you taking the time.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you.
Absolutely. All right, listeners, this is Achieve Leveraging Up. It's your voice, your story, your impact. I'm going to say thank you so much, Kit, because your voice can make a difference for our listeners out there. And I'm going to say goodbye for now.
Goodbye. Take care.